Treasure Island, San Francisco, Jon Stewart, The Villages, Housing Predator, Clip Event 22, Thursday, July 31, 2014, AVCHD 290, Carol Harvey, Videographer.
Quinn told me the one thing I was so upset about. She said, I don't want to start this year like I started last year, feeling sick, and this is one of my most important years in high school, 11th grade. And she's like, the last 2 years I've been sick. I've been so sick, and I don't want to start this year, so I don't want to go back. And she's so angry.
I could see
and
that.
She's already feeling bad, and she's already sinking back into everything that had started to disappear. I mean, I started to see my kid enjoy herself.
When she was away from here. Yeah.
And now Praise's knees are starting again, so I thought she was in remission, and she might have very well been for a few months, but now it's starting up again.
So this is proof positive that the trigger is something on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's me.
It's you.
Now
and
her doctors need to
both
identify it, and they need to stop telling me that I'm full of anxiety. No, I'm full of anger. I think anxiety is when you can't... Anxiety, to me, around this issue, is when you don't know what you're talking about. You don't even know where to look, and you're so panicked that you can't figure something out. I figured it out. I did 2 years of research. I took care of my kids in the meantime. I've done everything I can possibly do. And for them to play games just to get out of any obligation, it just really angers me. I don't know. It really just freaking pisses me off, actually. They know I'm sick. You know, Jane Kim knows I'm sick. Jane Kim knows my kids are sick. Woman, you seem to think that you can change housing rules to accommodate these things, and that might be what you feel like you can do. But if you can do that, and you can influence even into a debate the mayor, why isn't this already done? This city should not put $50 million towards any piece of land here. They should be putting $50 million into getting people off of here and make
into housing for them,
appropriate housing, and compensate them, or set up a, you know, do something that continues to pay back. Build a fund that is invested properly with our oversight, to support the medical needs, to identify the medical needs. Some people are sick and they just think they're just tired from overworking, because we're a working class community. It's half the time they're not exhausted. I thought I was just too stressed.
At the beginning.
Yeah, and then I got the diagnosis, but even before that, I started to feel like, God, I cannot pick my head up off the pillow. It was like a struggle just to get up out of bed, to get up and do stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, just to go upstairs, to go to the bathroom. I mean, I really just thought it was my physicality that was the issue.
And that will be true for everyone. And about when did you start feeling that?
Probably about 8 months ago. Maybe longer, but at first you just kind of go, oh, you know, maybe I can't stay up so late. Because it's been a couple years that I've been really not burning the candle at both ends, because I really love to sleep. I don't have a problem saying that. I'll sleep 12 hours a day if someone lets me. But...
Is that generally speaking, or is that because you've been feeling sleepy lately? So you're feeling tired lately? Or is that generally, you like to sleep generally, or is that just lately?
Well, maybe since I had kids, because, you know, you get sleep deprived, so you're like, oh, I love sleep. But I'm a pretty hyperactive person, so...
Just lately. You're talking about just lately.
Yeah.
That sleep feels like you need it. Like you need it. And this is like lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I got upset. It just, when I think of, like... And I never promise my children. I never say, I will get you out of here today or next month. Even when we were off the island, I said, well, you know, the way that they're handling things, the way that Dan Stone's, you know, underhandedness, the way, you know, Bob Beck and him are talking and working together, and obviously Taida, Miriam Saez, and her harassing me at the meeting, and all these weird things, and then people, my house being entered, and obviously entered, enough to leave a message for me, it felt like. I don't know if they did it, I'm pretty ssure.
Some strange entrances into Catherine's house happened twice. On the second occasion, the refrigerator... 3 times? So on the last occasion, the refrigerator had been opened and there were strawberries on the floor. And
the whole back door was flashed wide open.
And a piece of wood that held the door shut and that was on the inside had been removed. So it was clear there had been an entrance.
And the kids were all, except for, Price was with me, but the other kids were all accounted for. So the one that was with me didn't do it. Mm-hmm. My husband was accounted for. He was at work. Mm-hmm. I mean, nobody in my family did that.
Why would they have done it?
So
there's
that's
no
what I'm
reason.
saying. Like, nobody, and I was the last one who left.
Right.
So there's no way. And if anyone knows me, I'm almost OCD on the double checking the doors and the lights and making sure things are unplugged so there's no sparks. In case there's an earthquake, I'm OCD with that. I check the fire, the stove things. I don't leave anything on, nothing, no chance for anything.
So the immediate thought is, seriously possible intimidation, harassment, something of that type.
Yeah, it's retaliatory. It's completely, and it's totally constructed the way that we ended up not having enough time to claim the in lieu payment with what he was saying, not having the evidence of stuff in time for me to make a decision because it would take 10 or more days to get an in lieu payment that would have afforded us to move.
Catherine's talking about when she was in the alternative housing in the South of Market area, and just before she was forced to come back, John, what's the name of the organization? I keep forgetting it.
The Villages of John Stewart.
The John Stewart property manager was playing around with the details to make it difficult. We'll explain this later on. When she's talking about the in lieu payment, she's talking about his playing around with the details of that, the way Catherine was paying rent to force her back to the island, essentially.
Yeah, like even up to the last minute, they still hadn't done the city engineering thing, and
city engineering thing,
coming out to check the structure and the sinkhole
in your backyard.
Right. So even that, like, it was so close to the potential deadline, and at the same time, Dan Stone is over here on the other end going, well, it could be the 1st, it could be the 15th, and then, the 12th, he says, well, it's going to be the whole, 25th.
Okay, so this is like moving a whole family back into a unit or somewhere, and the property manager is playing around with the date at when this can be done. I mean, this is a huge thing. Moving on the stress level scale is close to the top. Moving is, giving a public speech is more terrifying than death. Then comes death, as we move down the scale. Then comes moving. It's highly stressful.
Well,
and he's playing around with the date, the potential date that you were going to have to move.
Right. And in the interim, every time I go to a meeting and he was there, he would start these little arguments with these little nitpicky things, and he knows that I can't stand him, so he gets in my face anyway. Mm. So did Miriam Saez. So did Bob Beck interfere with my conversation with, he just entered into my conversation with Jane Kim, which should be private. You don't get to stand there and hover and hear what I'm saying. You need to get the hell away from me and this conversation.
So these people are behaving like provocateurs.
Yeah. And then every single meeting, same topic. And then, Miriam Saez rolling up by me in her SUV while I'm on my bike almost immediately after we had moved. I had come back and, how are your accommodations, Catherine? Oh, I can't say anything because I'll get quoted. Yeah, absolutely you will. And you should have known that. You don't lie to people and then expect them to honor any kind of, privacy you may assume. You know, you can't say things about being forced by the government to be a liar and then not be able to stand up to that. Or Dan Stone, you can't say things about my vice president of Good Neighbors or TIC and then, you know, not. And then when you get confronted by that person who you fear, go ahead and lie to her face and then have a meeting with her and her housing provider and refuse to let me come to it because you know that I'll call you a liar in front of her, and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, I'm getting confused about the
Okay, so I'm
people.
saying these are the actions that they do behind the scenes. So in between the deadline, pushing so that I didn't have a good 10 days to say, okay, well, if I do this now and then I accept this, then I'll have an apartment by then.
And she was looking for another apartment in the city.
Yeah, like how can I go to another leaser or
Right.
landlord and say, oh, I can move in by the 15th if I don't even know?
When they're moving the final date around all over the place.
Yeah, like, and you know, and then the 15th bears on whether there's an apartment available to them, and then I would make, you know, so.
And the in lieu payment probably had something to do with you're making first and last deposit and rent on a new place.
Yeah.
And the in lieu payment, Catherine would have been paid money by TIDA to move off.
Because let's not forget, I mean, it cost about nearly $10,000 all in all to move.
Right. And this in lieu payment, they would have paid her money if she decided not to come back to the island. She would lose
Right.
her rights to move back to the island, but clearly you would have used the in lieu payment for the first and last month's rent, the damage deposit on a new place, but you didn't have any way to find a place because they wouldn't tell you when you had to leave, when the move back date was or when the final
Right.
date was. Dan Stone kept changing it around.
And because I had to throw out basically everything that I owned downstairs, except for maybe the metal pots or the dishes.
She's talking about the first floor of her place on Treasure
'Cause of
Island.
the mold. I
Because
mean-
it was covered with mold.
And then he promised to clean the washer and dryer, clothes washer and dryer, $3,000 nice set. And he gave me this, it has to be out so they can start the work. Well, you promised to clean it and store it along with the piano. So now you're telling me, and he didn't answer me. So I just assumed, oh, F me, now I gotta move it? I thought I could leave it in here because he kept telling me that the whole time, just leave it in the unit. And then he said, no, we'll get it cleaned and then we'll store it. Didn't do any of those things. Pressured me to move the damn thing. So in the refrigerator, and so I had to throw it out. What am I gonna do now? He's gonna lie and say that that wasn't necessary. He's gonna fight me on every last dime. So, you know, am I to wait for that to move also? I did not have any time left. If I stayed, I had to pay for it, and I can't afford a hotel. Not given all these, and I have sick kids, and I had a kid go to college. It would have been stretching our budget to begin with. But you know, these are the little harassment things, and then he comes in.
This is what
And
this
then he
guy
comes in and rips
specializes
my
in.
heirloom plants up after 4 separate conversations and a few emails, but about 4 while he's snooping over my neighbor's fence to look in his yard, which is totally illegal. You know, I told him, just let me get the pots, let me do it. And then finally I said, you know what? That is the most unnecessary area for us to focus on. I'll get back. I haven't been there in months. It's going to look like hell. I'll clean it up when I get back. Like, just leave it alone. Because there's certain plants and certain bulbs and things that they're still in protected dirt. So they're not any risk, blah, blah, blah. They came from my mother's funeral. They came from my kid's birth. He took them. He took them. I know they're plants. People think, oh, well, it's just a plant. No, it's attached to me.
It's a living thing that's attached to your mother who died in the house.
You know, at best. And then when I addressed it, he said, oh, I only told him to weed eat the weeds. Bullshit. Because you were telling me that you wanted those things out of there. And then he tried to say there were mosquitoes in a drought.
Why did he say there were mosquitoes? What was that
I
about?
said, oh, we went back there and there was garbage, there was rubbish and rodents. And I said, well, I haven't been there in almost 3 months, so I really don't know where any of that came from. And if it was already there in the mound that was there when I moved in and we threw more dirt over dirt-covered something, I can't explain that for you. And the mosquitoes, you're a liar. It's so dry back there that things are dying. None of you have watered them. You've dusted them with God knows what. You're a liar. There are no freaking mosquitoes. Don't try to, because your first reasoning in this whole thing was they're contributing to the cladosporidium. Cladosporium.
What is that?
It's a mold type. But see, the beginning was aspergillus, penicillin aspergillus.
Is that a mold type too?
Yes, and Stachybotrys, the two most, toxic. But cladosporium is too. But the indoor counts, again, the plants are counted in my outdoor count already. Don't tell me they're contributing to this. They're nowhere near it. The windows are shut. You already cleaned the inside. How the hell is that plant or any of its anything? And it's dry outside. Mold needs moisture. You're a liar. You're a liar, plain and simple.
Okay. This
Sorry.
man, no.
I just went off and...
I want to say right now that this man is the property manager for the most predatory real estate organization in the state of California, Jon Stewart. This man's name is Dan Stone. You are not the only person I have heard complaints, massive complaints, manipulations and lies and obstruction and trouble from Dan Stone.
He's
This
awful.
man is notorious on Treasure Island. He doesn't know how to manage. What he is a provocateur and a troublemaker. And he doesn't do the job. Jon Stewart is predatory, and they keep Dan Stone here because Dan Stone is a predator. And I will say that anywhere. I've seen what he's done to people. You're looking now at what he did to Catherine and her family. This is a very, very vicious person.
The most I can say is I hope Jon Stewart isn't fully aware of everything he's doing. I hope he's lying to them too. Because I would hate to think that a company that provides as much housing for seniors and middle income or impoverished people would be the type of company that would sit there and rape them blind. No, I'm just saying, I'm praying that the owner of this company is not that way. As it stands today, all I can say is I believe they are.
I can tell you that Jon Stewart's reputation in the state of California and in San Francisco among the majority of renters in San Francisco is that Jon Stewart, the Jon Stewart Corporation, is a predator corporation. They don't care about little old ladies. They don't care about children. They care about money. That's all.
Well, when my mouth was shut, they loved me.
Okay.
When I didn't fight, they adored me.
Okay. Shall we go on to the next station of our cross?
Yeah, let's go to the next station because I'm getting really deep into the personal side of stuff. And I just, personally, my husband can't stand the guy. And he probably should stop harassing us.
Okay, Dan Stone, I know that you have tried to have videos like this taken out of the publications that I print for. This one will go into the publication and it will stay there, and nothing that you can do will remove it.
He actually made me turn my cameras off while I was inspecting my house because he didn't want to be videotaped.
Okay. All right. Well, he claimed an invasion of privacy.
Well, that was my home.
Well,
I was still a tenant.
He claimed an invasion of his privacy, and
In a
that was
public
the
meeting.
reason that was the reason he gave for this group to take the video down, and they refused to because it wasn't an invasion of his privacy. And I'd like him to think about how many other people's privacy he's invading.
Well, they always tell people to put cameras up around their house and to put cameras up inside their house. Well, how can they use those for his benefit to prevent crime? And we can't videotape the inside of our house. Doesn't matter who's in there.
Okay.
You're in my home.
Okay, these are issues of privacy. Think about it.